Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer. I want to share my journey over the past few years, particularly regarding my marriage to my husband, Stephen. We've been married for 2 years now, and I'd like to reflect on some early conversations we had about his sister, Emma. When we decided to tie the knot, Stephen candidly warned me about Emma, suggesting she might become a burden in our lives. As an only child, I was initially thrilled at the prospect of having a sister. However, Stephen's words also left me feeling anxious and curious about the potential challenges she might bring into our lives. At the time, I dismissed the idea of any real issues, thinking, how difficult can it be to have a sister-in-law? But now, looking back, I fully understand what Stephen meant. I come from a relatively wealthy family. My father runs a mid-sized trading company and is both well-informed and progressive in his views. Growing up, my parents fostered an environment that encouraged exploration and intellectual curiosity. They always respected my decisions, which shaped my ambitions and interests from an early age. In 2008, during the collapse of Lehman Brothers, I was only 11 years old and still in elementary school. However, I was captivated by the substantial impact this event had on the world economy. The news was everywhere, and I remember watching the television coverage, fascinated by the financial terminology and the implications of what was happening. This experience sparked my interest in finance, and recognizing my curiosity and intelligence, my parents encouraged me to take an IQ test. The results revealed that I scored beyond the normal range, which only fueled my desire to understand the complexities of financial systems. Throughout middle and high school, my passion for finance continued to grow. I devoured books and articles on the subject, often spending hours researching various financial topics. When it came time to choose a college major, I carefully selected one that would deepen my understanding of finance and economics. Eager to apply my knowledge practically, I decided to venture into day trading after my professor suggested it as a way to experience capital flow firsthand. He cautioned me about the need for careful management to avoid debt, and I took this advice to heart. I dedicated myself to extensive research, identifying statistically favorable stocks for day trading. Starting with a modest sum saved from my allowance, I began buying and selling the same stock within the same day. My predictions were spot on, and while the increases were modest, my funds began to grow steadily. As I gradually increased my investments, I managed to amplify my initial amount by more than 50 times within a year. Although my original sum was small, I wasn't entirely sure how impressive this achievement was on a larger scale. What truly concerned me was whether the conclusions I had drawn through my research were accurate. During a university seminar, I met Stephen, a fellow student recognized for his analytical skills. We often found ourselves in agreement on various topics, which fostered a close bond between us. Stephen had a way of articulating complex concepts clearly, and I admired his ability to break down intricate financial theories. After graduation, I initially planned to join my father's company, but Stephen encouraged me to consider an opportunity at a foreign investment firm that he had discovered. On our graduation day, amidst the celebrations and the excitement of new beginnings, Stephen confessed his feelings for me. His voice was earnest and filled with vulnerability as he said, "I want to spend the rest of my life with you, Jennifer. Will you marry me?" I was taken aback by the sincerity in his eyes, and without hesitation, I accepted his proposal. His intelligence was comforting, and his understanding nature put me at ease as we began our respective career paths, strengthening our relationship along the way. Inspired by the trading concepts I had learned at my father's company, I immersed myself in researching foreign companies to gain a negotiation advantage and establish a solid foundation for our deals. Meanwhile, Stephen leveraged his analytical prowess to identify profitable investment opportunities, earning high praise within his firm. Despite our demanding schedules, we made it a priority to spend quality time together. Whether it was a simple dinner at our favorite restaurant or a quiet night in with a movie, those moments helped us recharge before diving back into our work. Over 5 years, our careers flourished, and our relationship deepened. We became indispensable support systems for one another. As our bond grew stronger, it felt like the perfect time to take the next step in our lives. However, during a family meeting, Stephen hesitated before sharing something important. "There's something about my sister, Emma, that you should know," he began cautiously, his tone serious. "She's a bit difficult and might cause you some discomfort or inconvenience." Emma, who is 2 years younger than Stephen, has always been known to be challenging. From a young age, her exceptional intelligence outshined even Stephen's, who was already considered a prodigy. This dynamic created a notable contrast in their neighborhood, where Emma's intelligence sometimes translated into a sense of superiority. As she grew older, this trait caused her to view others as less intelligent, often looking down on them, including Stephen. Emma's competitive spirit led her to enroll in a different but equally prestigious university, frequently boasting that her institution was superior to Stephen's choice. In her career, she joined a rival investment and consulting firm, claiming mastery in investment strategies. However, her attitude of superiority left her isolated, lacking close friends or a significant other. Behind her confident facade, Emma harbored insecurities and believed that no man was ever good enough for her. Stephen expressed concern that our engagement might bruise Emma's pride, given her constant need to compete with him. He worried about how she might react and her attempts to assert dominance over our lives. I tried to reassure Stephen lightly, saying, "It's okay," but his worries seemed unending, which only heightened my curiosity about his sister. Eventually, I met the infamous Emma at a family gathering. Her sharp intelligence and beauty were unmistakable, but she exuded a cold demeanor that made me unsure whether it was her nature or my own preconceived notions influencing my perception. The atmosphere felt tense as I approached her, unsure of how to initiate a conversation. Stephen's parents were warm and humorous, which made me feel comfortable around them, but Emma remained silent throughout the initial greeting, quietly observing me as if assessing my worth. After the meeting, as everyone was preparing to leave, Emma pulled me aside. "I wondered what kind of person you would be, but you're nothing special, are you?" she remarked coolly. "Just a girl who got a job at her parents' company and is probably slacking off." Stunned, I struggled to find a response. I felt a rush of embarrassment and disbelief. She continued, "I move large amounts of money and make significant profits. I'm on a completely different level than you. Stephen, settling for someone like you is disappointing. Today's lesson is realizing how much you don't measure up to my standards." With that, she left the room, leaving me in shock, my mind racing with her harsh words. When Stephen returned and noticed that I hadn't followed Emma out, he looked concerned and asked if something had happened. I brushed it off with a laugh, trying to downplay the situation. "It was just a minor jab," I said, but internally, I felt unsettled. He apologized for Emma's rudeness, but I assured him it didn't bother me, even though I couldn't shake the feeling of uncertainty about future encounters with her. Strangely, despite everything, I found myself looking forward to our wedding, remarking to Stephen, "That will be interesting." Our wedding was a grand affair, attended by family, friends, and colleagues from both sides. As Stephen and I declared our eternal love, we enjoyed a wonderful time with our guests. However, throughout the event, I couldn't help but notice that Emma appeared grumpy and irritated from the start. Knowing she had neither friends nor a romantic partner, I could somewhat understand her feelings, which I found slightly amusing. During a break for a wardrobe change, as I waited for the staff to assist me, Emma entered without warning. "This happiness of yours is only for today," she remarked coldly. "A plain woman like you won't get the spotlight after this. You're just going to leech off Stephen's earnings, aren't you? I can't understand how anyone could be satisfied with that. On the other hand, I've climbed up on my own. I'm on a completely different level. I'll find someone even better than Stephen and have an even grander wedding." With those words, she left, and I was left to ponder her disdainful attitude and the challenges that might lie ahead with her as part of my life. As I stood there, my mind was racing. I had no idea what I was in for, but I couldn't help but wonder how this rivalry would unfold in our lives moving forward. With a rapid-fire monologue that left no room for rebuttal, Emma strolled out of the room, her self-satisfaction palpable in the air. I barely had a moment to process her words before the staff walked in, just as she departed. The timing struck me as comically absurd, and I couldn't help but burst into laughter. Quickly, I composed myself and offered an apology to the puzzled staff, who exchanged glances, unsure of what had just transpired. Despite our demanding weekdays consumed by work, Stephen and I had cultivated a cherished routine over the weekends, savoring our time together as a family. Ever since our wedding, I had intentionally distanced myself from Emma, anticipating that I wouldn't see her again until our Christmas visit to my in-laws. However, fate had a different plan in store. My father had been seeking external consulting services for asset preservation and expansion at his company. I offered to manage the process, but he insisted on hiring an external firm he had in mind. The moment I heard the firm's name, a flicker of recognition ignited within me, yet I couldn't quite place it. At the first meeting with the consulting firm, my breath caught in my throat when I saw Emma among the representatives. It clicked, this was indeed her firm. She appeared equally surprised at my presence but quickly masked her shock with a professional demeanor. In that silent exchange, an unspoken agreement settled between us. We would act as if we were encountering each other for the first time, concealing our sister-in-law relationship from the rest of the team. Later that evening, I recounted the encounter to Stephen, who surprised me with the revelation that Emma had already contacted him. "This is ridiculous," he remarked, visibly perturbed. "I can't work with her. She was just complaining." He suggested that I might want to withdraw from the project altogether. I found the situation amusing, chuckling softly as I dismissed his concerns, though I understood the need to maintain professionalism in the upcoming meetings. During our discussions, I pointed out flaws and inadequacies in their proposals, backing my arguments with precise logic. My casual confidence seemed to unsettle them. Emma attempted to counter my points with past examples and mathematical evidence, but I skillfully dismantled their claims, exposing their weak spots and leaving them momentarily speechless. The meeting concluded in my favor, with the opposing team agreeing to prepare a revised proposal for our next gathering. Once they had departed, I poured myself a cup of coffee to unwind. Suddenly, my phone buzzed with a call that took me by surprise. It was Emma. "You may have bested me today," she declared with a mix of frustration and determination in her voice, "but I won't let it end like this. Someone as excellent as I am can't be outdone by you. You're just running wild, trying to handle everything alone." Amused, I replied calmly, "Emma, you really need to learn to rely on your colleagues and work together to make progress." "What gives you the right to lecture me?" she snapped. "I don't need guidance from someone like you." With that parting shot, she hung up. I couldn't help but burst into laughter again, still holding the phone as I drew curious glances from nearby colleagues. From that day forward, I took full control of our meetings. Their team often scrambled to respond to my points, finding themselves on the defensive. Emma's frustration was evident as she tried desperately to mount a comeback but always fell short. Later, when I reflected on this with Stephen, he mentioned that Emma had never been outdone by anyone before. "Plus," he added, "Mom told me Emma found out that a guy she liked already had a girlfriend and got rejected before she even confessed. That's probably adding to her irritation." I let out a surprised laugh at the thought. Finally, as the consulting project wrapped up successfully, the opposing team leader thanked us, acknowledging how much they had learned from the experience. As everyone began to disperse, Emma and I found ourselves alone once again. "I'm not satisfied with how things went," she stated, her tone sharp. "Just so you know, I'm more accomplished. I even bought a tower mansion at my age. Only someone as exceptional as I am could afford a brand new tower mansion." Emma had made quite a name for herself as an investor, and it was no surprise that she had managed to secure such a lavish purchase. "We'll toast among the elites, looking down on the ordinary folks who should just look up and despair," she added, leaving her usual parting comments in her wake. When I relayed Emma's claims to Stephen, he confirmed that they were indeed true. She had found success as an investor and had recently purchased a tower mansion to live in alone. It was clear that Emma possessed remarkable talent, and such an achievement was well within her reach. While luck certainly played a role, I genuinely wanted to congratulate her on her success. A few days later, during the weekend, I found myself visiting the tower mansion for business. As I stopped on a mid-level floor, a door swung open, and to my astonishment, Emma emerged. We locked eyes, both exclaiming in surprise. "Why are you here? If you're not invited to the party, did you come to clean?" I blurted out, teasingly. Emma chuckled. "It seems today is my celebrity home party, but no, not at all. I'm here to deliver something to an acquaintance on this floor." "An acquaintance? You came down from where?" I asked, puzzled. "My home is on the top floor of this mansion," Emma explained matter-of-factly. "But you and Stephen live in a single-story house. How can you have a home here?" I countered, bewildered. "Stephen can't handle heights. That's why our house is a single story," she replied calmly. "This place is my office and workshop." "Your workshop is on the top floor of a tower mansion?" I said incredulously. "This whole place is mine," Emma stated firmly. "Why shouldn't I use the top floor?" As we continued to argue loudly in the hallway, a voice behind us interrupted. "What's going on?" Emma turned and apologized. "Sorry, senior." The woman who had spoken, accompanied by 3 others, looked at us with concern. "I apologize for not greeting you downstairs. I was just dealing with Emma," I said, gesturing between us. Emma seemed momentarily at a loss for words, but the woman Emma referred to as senior looked at me and exclaimed, "Aren't you Mrs. Jennifer, our new external board director starting this month?" Emma was taken aback by this unexpected revelation. "She's also known as the investment goddess whom Emma admires," the senior continued, clearly bewildered. Emma struggled to comprehend what was unfolding before her. I explained how I had started day trading as a student, gradually progressing to more serious investing using my earnings. I honed my analytical and research skills to identify companies with growth potential, allowing my investments to flourish. My father had granted me the freedom to utilize a piece of land he owned in the city center, where I began constructing my own tower mansion, driven by the desire to understand the intricacies of such investments. "Managing a mansion is more challenging than it seems," I continued. "Income comes from rent, but maintenance costs and taxes are higher than expected. Even a few delayed rent payments from tenants can disrupt smooth management. Regarding the label of investment goddess, I explained that it had emerged due to my extraordinary success in the field. The realization that Emma admired me was a surprising twist I hadn't anticipated. That's why my room is on the top floor here, I clarified. I own a significant share of your company, which made me a board director. Emma was overwhelmed by this unexpected turn of events. It dawned on me that while she was exceptionally talented, her reputation for poor teamwork and negative attitude towards colleagues was catching up with her. I remarked to Emma that if she wanted to succeed in her current role, she would need to improve her approach. Overwhelmed by this harsh reality, Emma kneeled and collapsed on the floor. Later, Stephen humorously commented that the once fierce wolf had now become a small dog, seemingly grasping the fact that there is always someone above her in the hierarchy. I had never paid much attention to Emma's antics, knowing we operated on different levels. Yet, reflecting on it all now, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of guilt for finding the situation so amusing. As Emma stepped back from the limelight, her financial stability began to wane. She faced a string of investment losses, and her ability to afford the rent for her lavish apartment was increasingly compromised. I contemplated issuing an eviction notice if her rent payments fell behind for another 2 months. Through this experience, I learned an important lesson: everyone's abilities vary, and even similar skills can differ in levels. Emma's story served as a reminder to never underestimate anyone and to treat others with respect. Despite Stephen's apologies for not being more involved in these events, I reassured him it was not his responsibility. His genuine concern for me only deepened my affection for him. As I looked toward the future, my hope was to start a family with Stephen soon. I eagerly anticipated the joys of life as a family of 3. If Emma could shift her mindset and broaden her perspective, I believed she would soon find friends and a partner to share her journey with.